Welcome to the WordyGirl Entertainment Podcast. I am your writer-in-chief, Rosalind Jackson. I am a lover of words, and that love led me to a passion for writing. And what's the next best thing to writing? Talking about writing. So kick back and join me for mind-blowing chats about writing, covering everything from screenplays to novels to poetry, from nonfiction books to songwriting, and much more. Thank you for tuning in to my Screaming at the Screen series. This is where I recap TV shows and movies and share my opinions along with the crazy things I scream at the screen. Today's episode is Queen Sugar, Season 3, Episode 305, A Little Lower Than Angels. Now we start this episode with Darla bringing Blue home from that field trip that Ralph Angel allowed her to go to. When they get home, she tells Ralph Angel that they need to tell Blue. They need to tell him that they're no longer together and maybe even tell him that he's not Blue's father. I hope they don't tell him that part because that's doing too much. That'd be too much for that little boy to take. He's already gonna freak out because they're not getting married and he thinks they're still getting married. So don't crush his little heart right now with all of that info. So Ralph Angel is not feeling that at all. So next he goes to his boss's house for dinner. He works at the fish plant in addition to running his own farm. And the boss lady of the fish plant, she has a daughter, and she was trying to hook him up with her daughter. And so he goes to their house and the daughter's there and they're all getting acquainted and they have these spring rolls on the table and she shows him how to make a spring roll. And he makes one, but it's okay. It's okay. But she tells him that he did a good job for his first time. And then all of the family joins in with them and they're eating I believe it's Korean food or Vietnamese, one of the two. I can't remember. My apologies. So the employee that Ralph Angel hired to work on his farm, he shows up at the house saying he needs a place to stay and he doesn't want to get in trouble. So he needs Ralph Angel to let him stay there. Ralph Angel is hesitant, but he feels sorry for him. And so he tells him, all right, one night only. And I'm like, no, Ralph Angel, this dude is trouble. He's going to drag you down. And you don't even really know him all that well. And he's already asking you big favors like this. I feel like something is up this dude's sleeve. And I think trouble is coming. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so the next morning, he tells Ralph Angel all about his issues with dealing with being out of jail. He's not used to it, and he's having trouble adjusting to regular life again. Ralph Angel understands, of course, because he's been through the same thing. But you can empathize, Ralph Angel, but I'm telling you, don't get involved with this dude. The next day back at the fish plant, Ralph Angel is talking with the boss's daughter, and I forget her name, but it's the boss's daughter. And they're, chatting it up, and all of a sudden he asks her what she's doing the next day. He wants to take her out. And she's like, oh, I have to do this and that. I got to go blah, blah, blah. There's she names off 3 or 4 things that she's got to do. And Ralph Angel automatically takes this as a rejection. And he's like, oh, you know what? Never mind, forget it. And he just walks off. And she's staring at him. And she's like, hold up, dude, wait a minute. There's 6 other days in the week, right? Calm down. Okay. Wasn't nobody rejecting you. But you know how men are. They're very sensitive. They try not to show it, but we know. Raphael and Darla, they tell Blue that they're no longer getting married. And Blue is confused, but they tell him that
he's going to be staying with both of them at both houses. One week, maybe on the weekends he'll stay with Darla, or maybe during the week he'll stay with Darla. Like whichever way they arrange it, they just want him to know that he's going to be seeing both of them. And then poor little thing, he starts crying, and you could tell both Darla's heart is breaking, and especially Ralph Angel's heart, because Ralph Angel is very sensitive about this matter. He loves Blue, even though Blue is not his biological child. But that doesn't mean anything, because just because somebody is not your blood does not mean you can't have strong feelings for them and treat them as they are your own. Now, what's going on with Miss Nova? She's at Ralph Angel's house sitting on his porch writing, and Remy comes up and he starts to, talk to her, and he's flirting with her by complimenting her on her writing. He tells her that he's going to be the first one to buy her book. And then Ralph Angel comes up and he's like, Nova, what you doing here? You've been on my porch writing for days, and you need to go home, or you need to go somewhere to relax. And then Remy is like, I know where you can relax, and he invites her fishing. Remember, because previously they had talked about fishing, and that was a way to relax. And I'm like, Remy, I see you. I'm like, don't you go out to that creek alone with Nova. So they end up going out there to the creek, and Nova brings her laptop. But Remy makes her leave it in the car or in the truck because he doesn't want to chance her dropping it in the water or anything like that. So she tries to put up a little fight, but he's like, nope, nope. I got this notebook for you. He pulls out a notebook, an old school pen and pad, and he's like, "You're gonna take this and you're gonna write on here, and it's gonna be all good." And so when they get out on the water, they talk about her writing and how she's helping Micah and his activist friends by giving them a spotlight. And then she catches a fish, and they're all excited and everything. And then they start talking about Nova's past relationships. And she says that she never wants to be talked into being with a man ever again, because she felt like she never had a say in her previous relationships. So Remy tells her she deserves to be with a man who wants to be with her for her, not for Nova the activist or Nova the writer. And she appreciates him saying that. And then she puts her head on his shoulder, and I'm like, oh shit, it's about to go down. Next thing you know, she tilts that head up and she kisses him. And I'm like, Nova, girl, you are playing with fire. Charlie is going to kick your ass. Okay, but low key, I want Nova and Remy to get together because I like their vibe together. Now, what's going on with Micah? He brings his he brings his activist friends over to his house, and they're planning their next protest. And then Charlie comes home and sees all of them in her living room, and she's like, "Who are all these folks in my living room?" And Micah's kind of like, calm down, mom, calm down. And she wants to talk to him. She takes him to the side and is like, your little friend's going to have to go. Okay. And so he's like, chill out, mom. They're cool, blah, 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 blah. And then one of the kids, I think he purposely made a point of letting Charlie know that he's not some little thug, that he's smart. And because he let her know that having almond milk is actually worse than having regular milk, because it takes I think he said it takes a lot of water to grow one almond or something like that. But whatever his little factoid was, she was impressed with it. She was like, okay, she could tell that, this is a smart little guy. He's, not some little hooligan. So then she gets a call from Davis, and Micah knows what he wants to talk to Charlie about, but he but they're unable to talk right now, so they set up a meeting to meet the next day. The next morning, Davis shows up, and Micah is there, but he runs out without speaking to him. And Charlie's like, "What's that all about?" And so Davis breaks it on down and lets her know about the affair and the daughter. And he says he's moving back to LA to take care of the daughter because Sheila recently lost her mother and she has nobody. So he's going to move back there to take care of her. And Charlie is just like, "You got to be kidding me. Like, are you serious?" And he tries to show Charlie a picture of the girl, but Charlie is like, "I don't want to see that. I don't want you showing me her face so I can feel sorry for her." And she basically tells him to get out. She like rushes him and hits him and like, "Get out of my house." And she's pissed that he told Micah before he told her, because she didn't like the fact that Micah had to deal with that news alone. And so once Davis leaves, she basically has a breakdown, a nervous breakdown. She tries to call Nova. Nova doesn't pick up. She tries to call Aunt Vi. Aunt Vi doesn't pick up. I think she tried to call another person, but nobody is picking up the phone. And so she doesn't have anybody to pour her heart out to and, share her pain and what she's going through. So lo and behold, she gets a text message from Jacob asking to meet for drinks. And, she's so hurt and lonely right now. So she's like, why not? So they go to the bar and they get drunk, taking shots. And some of his business partners come by to say hi. And they start to tell him about the work that they're doing on the land, and he's trying to hurry up and rush them off because he doesn't want them to go into any detail about what they're talking about. And Charlie is like looking like, what's going on? But she kind of, lets it go for the moment. So the next day, Micah and his friends, they go to a plantation to protest where they have slaves, black people dressed as slaves, reenacting slavery, and white people dressed as the plantation owners and slave masters. And they're sitting on the porch talking, and I guess one of the director or somebody, or whoever, comes out and tells them that they need to get up and stop sitting on the furniture because it's over 200 years old. And one of the boys, he stands up to him and says they have a right to sit on this furniture because their ancestors built it. And he also told him, "Mighty funny, there's some kids over there climbing all over the slave cabins, but you're not asking them to get down, are you?" And so he tells them, "You guys have to leave." And they all stand up and like just stare at him like they're not going to go. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't let him call the police on them. Please come out and they arrest them or beat them or worse, shoot and kill one of them. That's what I felt like was going to happen. But one of Michael's friends is like, "Come on, y'all, let's just go." And so they leave, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God. So back at the bar with Charlie and Jacob, they shut down the bar. They're the last ones in there, and so they've been slow dancing, and I'm like, "Girl, don't get into bed with the enemy." And then what's she gonna do? She put that head on his chest. And I'm like, that's a sure sign that you have fallen for a man. When you put that head on the chest, that means you in. They got you. So they go outside to leave, and they're out on the porch talking and everything. And next thing you know, they end up kissing too. And I'm like, Charlie, 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 girl. You getting yourself in a whole mess of trouble. And then there wasn't much action with Aunt Vi. She basically was cooking a healthy meal for Blue and Hollywood, and they weren't trying to eat it because they were like, "We don't know what no quinoa is and vegan macaroni and cheese," and they were like, "No, ma'am." And as she's standing next to the door, she has a dizzy spell, and Hollywood is all concerned, but she waves them off and just says that it has to do with her medication being adjusted, and once they get it the proper dosage, she'll be fine. Nothing's wrong. But I'm like, I can definitely feel we're leading up to something big happening with Aunt Vi's health, like maybe she might be hospitalized or something like that. But I know they definitely better not make her so sick that she dies, because I'm like, nobody would be happy about her character leaving the show. So that is it for Queen Sugar, episode 305, A Little Lower Than Angels.
Thanks for taking the time to tune in to the WordyGirl Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to check out my blog at www.wordygirlent.com. That's WordyGirlent.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at WordyGirlEnt, and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WordyGirlEnt. And always remember, it all begins with a single word. So what are you waiting for? Go write.